Fuller House is the 20th episode of the 4th season of Full House. This is directed by Zwick, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. And of course, the name is a little bit special because Full House went on to have a spin-off, or I guess a continuation, called Fuller House, and I have seen that. It's an amazing show. And this episode is pretty great as well. So as I said, there will be spoilers from now, and I'm going to go through things chronologically. Sometimes with Full House, I group my thoughts by part of the narrative, but with this one, going through things chronologically seems to make the most sense. It starts off with Danny talking with Stephanie because she is struggling with her fractions, and this comes up throughout the episode as we get opportunities to learn about fractions. For example, actually, I said chronologically, but this happens a little later on. Joey uses a cupcake to show what a half and a half look like. Pretty sure it's a Hostess cupcake, which are delicious. It made me want one. The main narrative, though, focuses on the fact that Jesse and Becky are back from their honeymoon, and they're getting ready to move to Becky's apartment, and Michelle misunderstands and thinks that she's going, and she packs her suitcase and gets her little piggy. And when she learns that actually they're not moving with her, they're moving without her, she's obviously heartbroken. And we get a flashback to when Jesse first moved in. In general, I don't care for flashbacks, particularly when they're using footage from the show itself. We obviously live in an age where we can binge watch shows, so it's not that long ago that I saw that episode. But actually, it was quite nice to see the change in the room and obviously the change in Jesse as well. So I actually didn't mind that. And then they're about to leave, and Michelle says, "But we're supposed to be a big, happy family." Heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking. We then cut to Jesse and Becky having moved in. Their boxes are, well, Jesse's boxes are everywhere. And Jesse points out that it's a very feminine space, and he's right. Very traditionally kind of girlified with a lot of fluffy things and pink things. I like it. I like it a lot. There's a dog ornament, a particular dog ornament that I rather liked, and they're talking about decorating, and then Jesse sits down with Becky and he says something that I think was quite interesting. He says, "You know what I'd be doing now if I was at home?" And obviously the fact that he used the word at home there really means it's going to take a little bit of time for Jesse to get used to the fact that this is now his home. And that's completely understandable. And he then mentions that he'd be singing Michelle to sleep. And we cut to Danny and Joey singing Michelle to sleep. And she tried to enjoy their singing, but it just wasn't the same. However, not everybody is miserable. DJ is very much celebrating having her own room because Stephanie has been able to move into Jesse's room. And then the following morning, everyone's around the breakfast table. Jesse and Becky are back in the room. It's like they never left. Obviously, they didn't move far away, so I think that definitely works really well. Well, in theory, it would work well, but we'll get to that in a moment. First of all, we practiced some fractions around the breakfast table with a family of 7. It's a pretty fun way to make it a practical educational opportunity, and Stephanie was getting it, and I quite liked it. And then Becky did something that I thought was great. Michelle asked Jesse if he would sing to her tonight, and Jesse said, "Sure, we can have dinner here." I'll tuck her in and then we'll go home. And Becky, and I think it was very obvious as soon as Becky said this, but she said they actually have the termite person coming around, so could they stay here tonight anyway? And I do think it was very obvious that was not the truth, but Jesse was none the wiser. And then they're sleeping on 2 cots in the attic, and Becky kind of suggests that maybe they stay there full time. And this is something she'd obviously discussed with Danny first. She wasn't just going to invite them to stay there. Although if she had invited herself to stay, I'm pretty sure Danny would never have said no. And it turns out that they're actually going to be staying in the attic. It'll give them a chance to save up for a house of their own, and they don't have to leave the family quite yet. And everybody's really excited, and Michelle hanging up the framed bunny picture was just a really beautiful moment, and I really enjoyed it. And I think it's the perfect decision, because if they'd moved out, the house would be a little less full, and it would still work, because they'd still be over there all of the time. But at the same time, just having them under the same roof definitely makes a lot more sense, and I think it's the perfect outcome. So definitely a great episode. Fuller House as an episode is really brilliant. Really makes me want to watch Fuller House again. I haven't seen it since it finished airing. I think I watched it when the last season came out. It might have been a little while after it finished airing. I can't remember. Either way, great show. And as an episode, Fuller House is definitely pretty great. And I think everything just went in the perfect direction.